Hi, I'm Sam from Black Cats Gaming, and with the amazing support of our backers, our previous campaign, The Spy Game, was a huge success. And now we're coming to you with a second campaign, a new RPG that we're calling Cursed Captains of Cthulhu. Cursed Captains of Cthulhu melds swashbuckling voyages on the high seas with the cosmic horror of the Cthulhu mythos under its waves. You can delve into forbidden lore in the shadowy setting, going on incredible voyages from the hustle and bustle of Nassau to the uncanny quiet of deep sea wrecks. But be warned, for every Anne Bonny, there is a bleached, forgotten set of bones. For every Blackbeard, there's a wreck of a man who has seen too much. With Cursed Captains of Cthulhu, you're going to have to embrace the pirate motto, a merry life, but a short one, as you set sail upon the waters of Cthulhu's horror.
Hi, friends. I know you're used to seeing Sam on the screen, but today you have me with these awesome folks that I am surrounded with. For Cursed Captains of Cthulhu, Dreams Beneath the Waves. Before we say a quick hi to everyone, I'm going to shout a few things out in the chat. If you like what you see today, please head over to the Kickstarter to back. It's in its final week. The book is awesome. There's a quick start available for download too that's just had an update today for the voyage with it, along with some ship sheets as well, which is a really fun little adventure. So please go and check that out. If you want to interact with the stream today, you can use bits and donations to buy some refills for these wonderful folks here. So if you'd like to get their pirates out of a sticky situation, or encourage them to make terrible decisions, you know how to do it. Otherwise, please go check out blackcatsgamingshop.com. Check out The Spy Game and Dreams and Nightmares as well over on DM's Guild. But we'll get to more of that in a minute. But let's go around and say hi to these really awesome folks who are, for some reason, letting me take them on a really wild adventure. First, on my overlay to my left, maybe left, I don't know anymore. We have Kurt. How you doing, friend?
I'm glad to be here. Excited. Very awesome. I don't need help making bad decisions. I'm just letting everybody know. I really don't need help making bad decisions.
Do you want to tell people who you're playing today?
Yes.
I know we're going to get into a little bit of our characters in a minute when we start playing, but
today I am playing Bartholomew Rains, aka Broadside Bart, the master gunner of the ship and chief cannoneer teacher person.
He has a lot of titles, you know.
Very much so. Very much so. I just like to make things go boom.
I can't wait to see what kind of trouble he gets himself into. Moving around, we have Noir, who is our resident spooky character, I think, for this campaign. Noir, how you doing?
Ooh, I'm just kidding. I'm doing all right. Hey, everybody. Wow, I'm sorry. I'm watching on Twitter, on Twitch, and it's just like this dreary, spooky face. It's like, hi, everybody. Hey, I'm playing Papa Sadsoul, who is an exorcist. Essentially, I'm going to be trying to keep this crew alive. Yeah.
I mean, that's good because I feel like you're probably gonna need it. The opposite of somebody who keeps people alive, we have our duelist, Lauren. How are you doing?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren. I am that salty ginger over on Twitter. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm half of Salty Sweet Games on Twitch. I am playing Venora Viper Vane because I like to shoot things in tabletop games, and I like to do it really, really well. The end.
I cannot wait to see how much trouble Venora gets into. And I'm glad to have you back at the table. It's been a while since we played together. And last but definitely not least, the last of our 4 characters tonight, we do have one other amazing crew member who can't join us tonight, Hamna, who hopefully will be with us next week, but we send our love out to her. But Belle, tell us about Winifred.
Hi everyone, I'm Belle Share. You can find me as Belle Share on Twitch, on Twitter. I'm playing Winifred Teague. She's the ship's cook and also a wind caller, but quiet about that part. She's about 60 years old. She's had a hard life on the seas. Oh, she's got a pet monkey too. It's a black howler. Name is Kiki.
Ooh, Kiki. Okay.
Yes.
Let me note that down in the notes. Oh no, you've already put it in there. Awesome, because otherwise I will forget. You'll soon learn. Sometimes I'm not great with names. So folks, we have a really awesome crew, and I'm really excited to see what trouble they get into. I'm not going to bother to introduce myself. You saw me here last night on Black Cats and probably know who I am from having been around this channel before. So without further ado, I think it is time for us to set sail. All of you are aboard the ship that you have come to know and love, the Headsman, captained by a man known as Valere, with the nickname of the Guillotine. And probably most of you have seen how he earned this nickname in battles and boarding crews. And you have had a tip-off about a prize, a large trade goods ship that you are currently tailing or trying to intercept. It's carrying tobacco, rum, sugar, oranges, all of the kinds of things that sell very, very well in Nassau and will bring in a fair amount of gold, reals, and doubloons for you to spend. It's probably 3 or 4 days into your voyage. It's not the easiest thing to track down a ship on the open seas, but you've had some good information and have been slowly making your way towards where you think it should be crossing. The seas have been calm and quiet. You've had no trouble, no interception from any other crews or ships, pirate or otherwise. And it's a quiet night. The water is still, but the winds are fair. And it's in the darkness that we first see our characters. Broadside Bart, you are up pretty late, on watch. Tell us, what are you doing right now?
I'd probably be, if I'm on watch, I'd be walking up and down the gun decks, making sure all the cannons are secure, and making sure that the gun teams definitely stowed all of the cannonballs this time and aren't using them for recreational purposes and making a bowling alley on the mid deck.
It seems that for once this has been done. Perhaps your last talking to them was effective. But the guns seem secure. There's not too many people on deck. A few sailors who are sitting around. You're not expecting any trouble, so many of them are asleep at their posts, or finding other things to do, playing cards or dice. But it's you. Oh no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'd probably just go to one of the side railings and probably just puff on a pipe.
And it's as you're doing that, as you lean over the old wood of this ship, and you can see in places where it's been chipped and splintered, where hatchet marks have left grooves indented into this. The Headsman is an old ship. It's been changed hands and names more times than most people could count, but it's reliable. It's been refitted and re-outfitted, and it's seaworthy. But as you lean over the railings and puff on this pipe and the smoke dissipates up towards your eyes, clouding your vision for a second. You spot the water beneath the ship, only lit by the starlight out here. And you watch as this beautiful canvas of stars ripples.
I'd probably get lost in that for a hot minute.
And it's beautiful, mesmerizing, this wonderful flickering of lights on the top of this gentle water until the ripples get stronger. Until they turn not into ripples, but into small waves that lap at the side of the boat.
Is this different than the rest of the water around the boat?
It is. This is not. I mean, you get some lapping as the boat is cutting through the water, but this is coming up along the sides. This isn't the stream that you get as the boat cuts through. This is something causing this rippling effect from further out.
I'd probably call over to one of the other people who are just hanging out on the top deck and be like, what do you make of that? What is that? Like, just kind of like slowly leaning over the rail to look down to see if I can see if, I don't know, maybe it's like dolphins or something are playing up next to the ship, or some sort of trick of light, but I don't trust my own eyes on it, so I'd definitely call for somebody else to come take another look as well.
Okay. Which one of you is also on watch that night with Bartholomew?
I'll say Papa is.
Okay.
Oh,
Great. What's Papa been doing then, while Bartholomew's just been doing his checks and is over there smoking a pipe? What's Papa been up to?
Papa has been walking all over the ship, putting makeshift bells all over the place, and tying a rope towards the bell on the main mast so that it's easier to access. And when Bart asks him, what do you make of that? Papa's just gonna say, "That's what I'm here for. That's why Papa came here."
What?
And he's just gonna go back to putting bills down.
That doesn't answer my question. What do you mean that's what you're here for?
A whole lot of men gonna die in their sleep tonight. The bells help them realize that it's death, not a dream. It's just continuing his work.
That's why nobody talks to you on the boat, Papa. You gotta stop talking like that. It makes the other men uneasy. Just stop with that.
What we talking about?
Well, yes, I understand that we're talking, because I understand that you're just a different individual, but at the same time, not everybody here is of that same opinion. I mean, sailing with Hornigold, I've seen a few people of different places. You definitely take the cake, though.
It's a maddening thing to die in your sleep. Can't tell if it's dream or if it's what's next. Bells help.
And it's as Papa says this, that water against the boat doesn't just lap at its sides, but you feel a shift in the water beneath you as the boat lurches ever so slightly. Just a little, a wobble, but you can hear a few of Papa's bells, these makeshift objects made probably of bits stolen from the kitchen, bits of metal and tin
Melted
that have been salvaged from places. The main mast bell doesn't ring, but these little makeshift ones and the delicate thread that Papa has been putting them up with just tinkle in the background in a really kind of odd, like when you hear like belled instruments, but none of them are in tune. It's just really unnerving. And then as you look out across the water, you see something just off the port side of the ship, left for anybody who doesn't know. It's like it's darker. You know how you can just see moonlight and you can just see the layer of the water. You can just see bits of sea current moving and algae and pieces of debris that find their way into the ocean just there. It's gone. Something dark begins to swell and the ripples get wider and you can see the water starting to push upwards now unnaturally as something large and wooden shoots its way up from the ocean beside you. The prow of a ship. And suddenly, cannon fire. Loud, creaking sounds of wood and cannons being blasted as before your eyes from the depths comes this huge, large, creaking galleon. Water drains off the sides, and you can see the crew above deck. Men rushing to reach cannons and bright flashes as they go off. Smoke trailing close enough for you to see, and then you feel it. The impact of the large iron balls crashing through the ship. What is Venora doing as this all kicks off? When suddenly, whatever was happening, you are disturbed by a cannonball coming through the mid-deck of the ship.
Venora has been with Captain Valere doing one of their late night chats where he tries to ask her questions about her experience on Jennings' crew, and she artfully dodges every question with a question. Sometimes they play cards or roll dice. They get along pretty well. And so I think it's just some glint in the glass of the captain's quarters that first alerts her, or the kind of eerie quiet.
You heard it too, this strange tinkling sound.
Yeah.
And then out of that fogged glass, where the inside of the cabin is warm, so you've got condensation that hasn't helped. It's just darkness. And then it's not. And then there's light. And then there's loud sounds, cannon fire, unmistakable. And you can feel the ship beginning to rock.
Yeah, she throws Valere to the ground and tells him to crawl toward the door when she hears the first fire of cannons.
And he is in shock. You have been looking out of the window and your focus has kind of been on whatever the light was just as this went off. But he's been sitting there still playing a hand of cards, putting them back down on the table, laughing because he thinks he's won. And then suddenly he's thrust to the floor by you.
Mm-hmm.
And as you make your way out of the captain's cabin onto the deck of the ship, it is now chaos. There are men at the guns. There are people screaming. You can see where wood has splintered. You can see men who have unfortunately already suffered a most horrible fate from the attack that seems to have been launched. But as you decide what you're going to do next, I want to know, where is Winifred?
Winifred would have been sleeping in the galley. That's where she prefers to sleep, in a hammock. And first thing that would have woken her up would have been maybe not the cannonball, but Kiki starting to howl. She is a howler monkey, and though she is petite and not as raw as the male howler monkey, she does still have that notable howl, and it sounds much like a garbage disposal that it could be heard from a mile away. So then she like rears up and she said, what in God's name? And she gets out of the hammock and what in God's name? And she just gets out of the galley and comes comes up on deck. Hold on.
And as if to answer your question of what in God's name is going on, as you exit the galley, you see a cannonball smash through and splinter the wood strut that one half of your hammock was tied to as it just crumples and the cloth drops to the floor.
Oh shit, we're going down. Oh shit. She goes back into the galley and starts to go to the back, and she starts rummaging through pots and pans and starts hucking things out of to the side. Kiki is still screaming.
You notice that somebody has already rifled through some pots and pans here. Like the kind of, I imagine there's like a bowl maybe that's full of something akin to cutlery is half empty, and like there are bits of dish and tin left everywhere.
Who the hell? And she knows what she's looking for. Is it there?
It is.
It is.
Do you want to describe what it is that she picks up? You dig it out. It's at the bottom of all of these like pots and pans, and it's been like pushed underneath a bunch of old rags that you've used for cleaning or dishcloths, or but it's still there.
It's a great big pot. I mean, big old stew pot made for big old family. In it is her. She's had little things that she has kept aside for herself over time, and over time, this is just her emergency funds. And this is her pot, and so she takes her pot, and it's pretty heavy at this point, but she's taking her pot and her ladle, and Kiki, come on, Kiki, come on, we gotta get out of here.
And Kiki is still howling and screeching and kind of jumping around the room between these broken, splintered bits of wood. And when you call her over, she swings across and sits on top of the pot and grips the edge of it as she looks out to see what's going on.
All right, we gotta go get the captain.
And as you say that and walk up onto the deck to see what's going on, you spot the captain with Venora hoisting him up by the collar as they've crawled out of his cabin quarters, and all of you are now on deck, cannonballs flying past. And you can see that Bartholomew and Papa are already busying themselves with the rest of the crew. What are you both doing? Because you were the first two to see this ship emerge out of the water.
Papa is immediately going to start tending to anybody that is wounded, all while reminding the crew, you can't hold your breath if you're screaming. And so he's just going to start wrapping wounds and providing fast relief for anybody that is too far gone.
I can imagine that there are lots of crewmen, especially some of the gunners who are right up along this portion, returning fire, who are suffering from big splinters of wood, cuts, bruises, bludgeoning, things that have happened to them, who know to come to you to patch them up. And as you walk around the deck, there's a bit of me that likes to imagine Papa's quite calm at all of this. Like, I can't imagine him like running around.
Yeah, no, so I should describe, he is in a tattered white Buccaneer shirt, a long flowing black skirt, but you could still hear the trademark thud of his gnarled peg leg and boot. He has a bunch of jewelry about, and like a bunch of like chains, charms, and just rope just kind of dangling down. And he's got a bandolier full of potions and tonics that nobody really knows what it's for, and they all look like poison.
They're all sus, right?
Yeah.
So you go around, and unfortunately there are some crewmen some of the worst damage you can get on a ship under fire is the large splinters of wood that the cannonballs cause. And there are some who these splinters cause more than broken bones or easily treatable lacerations. And you give those men, time in their final moments as this chaos is going on around you that you have oddly, seemingly predicted.
Yeah, like the ones that are too far gone before he closes their eyes, he goes, when you wake up to wherever you go and ring a bell, make sure you're not dreaming. And then he just gives them something to make it quick and painless.
And oddly, where some of these men might have laughed before, some of these men might have heard some of the stories that you've told and, call bullshit on it because they don't believe in the things that Papa believes, look at you with fear in their eyes and nod their heads as if for the first time in their life they really might believe what you're saying before they're gone. And in the strange calm, in contrast, the strange calm that Papa has as he walks around this deck in the chaos, what is Bartholomew doing?
Oh, Bartholomew is very much shouting at the gun crews, load the cannons, fire over and over, take aim, trying to get everybody moving towards the guns to get as many of the guns out the port side and returning fire as quickly as they possibly can. Mm-hmm. At some point, probably running up and down, shifting between different gun crews that have already lost members of their crews to try and fill in those slots.
And it is chaos. You are out of breath. And, you are a fairly fit man doing what you do, but this is a big ship. Probably not bigger than Hornigold's is, but there's certainly a lot more chaos here. And you were caught by surprise. And as you run up and down, you can see somebody at the helm of the ship trying to guide you. You are faster than this mystery ship as you begin to cut ahead of it. And you can see what's happening. Whoever's at the helm is turning to try and get this strange apparition on your broadside so you can get out of its cannon fire and hit it as hard as you can with the 4-pounders that you have aboard. And that's what you're seeing, Venora, as you come up on deck and the captain is seeing, as somebody behind at the helm above you is shouting these directions out for the sails to be pulled and where to turn. And you can start to see yourselves pull ahead as this turn comes along and you start to come up with the ship on your broadside, on the port side.
Mm-hmm. I think Venora moves up toward the helm so she can get a bit of a better vantage to just see who this is, if they're flying colors, if where they came from, how they got up on them. So she's trying to take that in, and she's got her musket out.
As you get up to the very top deck where the helm is, you can see a familiar crewman who is pulling and shifting, fighting to turn the wheel quick enough and bellowing orders. Normally he would regard you, but you can see at this point he is laser focused on what he's doing. You see no colors that you recognize on this ship. There is a tattered flag, but the cloth is so far ripped, it looks more like strips hanging in the wind, and whatever design had been painted onto it is long since ruined. The ship itself it looks damp all over. You can see it's old, it's battered. You can see what looks like where repairs have been done in the hull, maybe fairly recently. And you can see its crew just from this distance, men just like the ones on your ship, and women firing guns, pulling things around, but oddly they don't appear to be changing direction. You would expect them to try and turn with you to even the odds. And despite that you being faster than them enough to get ahead, they seem to be picking up speed towards you as the very prow of their ship gets closer and closer and closer into view. Is there anything anyone would like to do immediately as you see you've now got this ship on your broadsides and the port side, as you see it speeding towards you.
I would like to from the gun stations. It'd be kind of hard to do, but I would like to pull out my spotter scope, right? My telescope and or extendable scope, I think is what they call them, and see if I can get a look at the ship's figurehead to figure out who it is that's shooting at us.
Okay. So I'm not going to make you roll for this. You pull out your spyglass, and among the rocking and shouting orders, you take a look at this ship's figurehead. It has the face of a shark. Not quite the face, but the jaws. This wide, open maw. And within, it's hard to tell in the dark, in the chaos between the smoke, but you swear that within you can see something writhing and moving, a blackness that shifts. And you don't recognize this figurehead from any ship that you have known. But there's something there. There's just something off about it. And this is the moment that all of you see. As suddenly, the vision in front of you, as the last rounds of the guns are fired, and the 4-pounders lock back, and as the smoke clears, you don't see a ship. It's just darkness. Thick, black, inky darkness that as you look upwards seems to begin to swallow the sky as something huge, massive, blocks out your vision of the horizon off the port side. You can't make out its shape. It's vast, but you can hear this horrible drone. Something that shakes the wood of the ship itself. And this is the moment that you start seeing men trying to go overboard, jumping into the water off the nearest side that they have.
Papa's just gonna say, there you is. Remember, boys, you can't hold your breath if you're screaming.
And what does Papa do?
I think he's going to try to be the last one on the ship. He's being genuine when he's telling people, like, if you're going into the water screaming, you will die. It's impossible not to see this and not scream, so he's hoping, he knows his words aren't going to matter, but he's hoping that maybe he could save one.
Bartholomew, you are close enough to hear Papa say this, and maybe quite a few of you are, depending on if you've kind of come together as the chaos has kind of forced people closer and closer together. But you hear Papa say this, and you watch as men leap, screaming, and don't surface.
I just kind of like turn and I see him, and I kind of go, "Goddamn crazy bastard!" And I just like full on charge at Papa and spear him off the boat with me to get him off. Like, you're not meeting your maker today, kind of thing.
Venora and sorry.
Yep. I am crouching.
Sorry, I swallowed the wrong way then.
Okay.
Winifred, you see as Papa says this, Bartholomew just looks across, charges at Papa, and with one arm kind of around his waist, just throws the both of them over the board. Neither of them screaming, just silently into the water off of the starboard side, away from this encroaching darkness.
If
I
could,
look to Viper and
sorry.
I'm like, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if I could, as he's going down, I would like him to kind of give the finger on his lips to the rest of the crew as he's going down.
He doesn't fight you, Bartholomew, as you go over. You notice as you're running at him, he puts his finger to his lips, and the two of you go over the side into the cold, salty ocean. What's Winifred doing?
She's still with the captain and trying to get him on his feet and seeing looking to Viper with a what do we do? She's waiting for orders from Valaire, Captain Valaire.
What is Venora doing?
Venora isn't taking her eyes off this darkness, but she's moving to Winifred and the captain. I think she always has her gear on her, and she's like packing away pistols in the kind of waterproofing bags that you could make back then. And just like backing away, but not taking her eyes off. And it seems as though the abandoned ship was taken, if not called. So she turns to the captain. How far off were we from land? Last we heard.
And you hear in his very heavy accent, he is not a Frenchman. You know he is an Englishman. At least Winifred will. But he styles himself with this grandiosity, and you hear him put on this heavy accent that he does whenever he's in front of the crew. In fact, many don't even know that he's an Englishman, and his name is not Valaire. But perhaps the two of you do. The two of you do know this from your closeness with him. But you hear him shout, "Abandon the ship! We are too far out from land. But if we stay..." And he just trails off as he stares at that thing. And it's like he's frozen on the spot in horror as he just kind of limply waves you away. It's like all of the panic has gone from his body.
And I try and oh no you don't, and I try and like bring him overboard with me.
You try, but as you get to the railings, and I am assuming the both of you are throwing yourself off the starboard side now. As you try to pull him over, he grabs the edge of it and just doesn't, he's not looking at you. He's doing what Venora's doing. He's just staring at this darkness and says, "No. The captain goes down with his ship." And in that moment, as you're like struck hearing these words in the panic, without even looking, he just pushes you off the side. And all four of you are in the cold, black ocean. And when you surface moments later and come up and you're coughing up the cold, salt water, you spin, treading water, looking for the ship, expecting to see it crumpling into the ocean like paper in water. There is nothing. You see some floating bits of debris, of railings and boards that have come loose. But there is nothing. The horizon has once again appeared, and the water, you can see the last ripples just coming to rest far out past you. But your ship is gone. The ship that seemingly opened fire on you is gone. Vanished, leaving an empty horizon in the direction that you're looking.
Blair, no! Blair!
What?
You manage to cling to some of the debris that is here. It's disorientating, and at some point you're forced to try and swim before you can feel yourself tiring. And as you can feel the cold water creeping up over you, as seemingly the four of you are the only members of your crew that you can find, you are woken to this horrible kind of seasick feeling of swaying and the sound of orders and people rushing around, the sound of rowboats being dropped. And for a second, you think it's all a horrible dream, until you open your eyes and realize this is not your ship. You find out that you were dragged out of the water half dead by another vessel on its way to Nassau, a Captain Williams. You've been out of it for the last few days on your way here, and you've been tended to, and they essentially drop you off on the beach of Nassau with a "you owe me one," and leave you back on this island that you know so well, without a crew, without a ship, without even asking what happened, but with a debt that they hope that you mean to make good on. So back on dry land, what do you all want to do?
So we are in Nassau now, right?
You are in Nassau now, the roving pirate town, and it's loud. As soon as you get on the beach, there are other crews here who seem to be very happy to be coming ashore. Some look like they're carrying papers, probably logs of whatever it is that they're planning to sell to the various warehouses here to make their coin. Some are immediately going off in search of taverns and other establishments that might, bring them joys that they don't get on their ships. But the four of you are disheveled, probably not feeling too great after having been out of it the last few days on your way back here. You see nobody else from your crew exit Captain Williams's boat, and they seem to be not too bothered by you. If anything, a lot of them seem inconvenienced by you because your place in the rowboat is 4 more of them that they have to wait back on the ship. But you can see people pulling goods through. You can see livestock just roaming, this collection of makeshift tents, people selling trinkets and items and food, drunk sailors and pirates. Nassau is exactly as you remember it when you set off from here, not a few days ago.
The very first thing Papa does when he comes to is he reaches into his skirt and he pulls out a tiny bell and he rings it in his ear to make sure it sounds like a normal bell.
The bell is as clear as you would expect your little makeshift bell to be, and as you're all standing on the beach, you can probably notice this. And Winifred, you notice that this bell is made up of like an old a piece of tin that's been shaped into the shape of a cup, and a fork that's had a hole forced into the end so that you can thread the two together to shake.
Well, at least something came from the ship. How long did I manage to have my pot with me?
You do still have your pot.
I do have my pot. It's empty.
It is only it's about a quarter full.
It's just a pot. It's just a quarter full.
Yeah.
Hey,
if you had asked anybody, they'd swear they found you that way. You had been floating in the ocean, so it's likely that a fair amount of it was lost at sea. It's also quite possible that they nicked some of it, but you're probably never going to be able to prove it.
Right. I don't go chasing it. Well, we got something. What do we do? What was that? What?
I think Venora is sitting kind of on the sand with her bag next to her, and she's not crying. Her eyes are kind of out of focus on the horizon from where we came, and she's tracing these bits of kind of iridescent scaling on her arm and kind of says, without looking at anyone, did anyone on board have family or lovers here in Nassau? We should tell them.
You assume that
I had the captain.
You assume that there's a fair few people that would have had friends, maybe family, brothers or sisters, perhaps, here in Nassau. Probably lovers too, depending on if they spoke to them. But trying to track those people down would be a very long and arduous task, and would really depend on how well you knew a lot of the crew.
What would we even say? Ghost ship, come out of the water, sank us, and darkness swallowed the ship. They'll kick us off the island for being nuts.
Ain't nothing nutty about the truth.
How many people here you think are going to believe that?
Truth
How
don't
about
require
you?
nobody believing it.
You are not wrong. You are not wrong at all. I just kind of look up at the fort.
Truth?
Like I just kind of like look up at the fort and just go, he's not going to be happy.
Oh, and you know that he is here. You can see as you're I imagine like you're starting to make your way through into Nassau proper, I guess. You spot sheared up along one of the shallow beaches. It looks like it's being keel hauled, like where they scrape. You get the ship out of the water and you scrape the bottom for barnacles and retar it. Let me double check the name of his ship. The Mary Ann, the ship of Benjamin Hornigold, and men working on it. Nassau is his territory, and it's been a while since you've probably stepped foot on Nassau, although you left from here. You kind of docked to pick supplies and then left. You suspect that your presence here won't stay a secret for too long. But so far, nobody who's seen you, or you'll get a few friendly waves from people that you know and traders that you know as you make your way through the kind of crowded space of Nassau. So far, no one's said anything to you yet, but if his ship is here, Hornigold is here.
Yeah, I bet he is. I immediately go to the tavern because I'm going to get a drink in before I don't get one.
Are you all heading to the tavern?
Absolutely.
I'll follow. But like he's like dragging behind.
Yeah, I'll walk with Papa.
You make your way there, and this tavern probably had a name at some point, but you've never learned it. And the sign out the front is so sun-bleached that you can't read what the paint on it says either. Most people just call it the tavern. It's a familiar sight, a very welcome sight in all of the confusion you've had. You can see there are lots of people in here, men and women drinking, some celebrating perhaps their most recent prize or the money they've been given by the warehouses for their stock. You can see some are just having a quiet drink. You can see some have fallen asleep at their cups as tavern maids walk around with large jugs, picking up cups, inspecting their contents and pouring them in, saving the grog that's been left over. You can see some helping themselves to a coin or two that have been stacked up on the tables beside drunken sailors who now lay half asleep. In the corner, they're like tucked into a corner, there is a crew who appear to be playing cards of some kind, who are just kind of kept to themselves, which isn't unusual. But you do see the kind of makeshifty tavern bar that's set up, frosted bottles of alcohol on the shelves of odd shapes and sizes, and some of the colors not looking too inviting. But you manage to find your way to the bar between the drunken patrons.
I just like 4. I count who's here and just like 4.
Venora, you recognize the barmaid here. You've spoken to her probably all of you have, hundreds of times before. Why don't you describe her for me?
Yeah, I think she's a very kind of tan with living on the island, and very kind of wild brown hair and brown eyes. I think her name is I think she calls herself Pearl.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she's always been friendly. She knows a lot of gossip because she's close with whoever owns the tavern.
Yeah. And she's well liked among the patrons too.
And she doesn't mind sharing that information if you know well enough to treat her well.
And so as you all step up, and Bartholomew, you just put 4 up, she stands there and she regards all of you for a minute. Hand on her hip, she's wearing these beautiful, bright colored, what looks like silks. It's clearly been a good month for the tavern, or for her, or perhaps this was some gift that somebody has given her in exchange for some gossip. But you can see these strings of pearls that she wears around her neck as she looks out at all of you and puts down the cloth that she's holding and leans. Oh, 4. Not even a hello this time, broadsides. Disappointing. Well, and she waits for the laugh, and there isn't one. You look like you've all seen death. Supposed to be happy in here. I've got enough sad sap sitting over in the corner over there. And she looks over at a table at a group of pirates who appear to be grumbling and kind of in their cups. 4 of anything? Rum? Whiskey? Whatever that is that Toby's made recently. And she points to like a bottle that's got a very odd coloured liquid in it.
Whatever
Yeah,
Toby Toby made. Whatever Toby made.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your deaths. She takes it down and she puts 4 not very clean cups out on the table and just kind of lazily pours it across, and it spills up, and she pushes them forward and wipes it away.
I instinctively go and try to grab it with my hooked hand, and then all right, and then grab it with my other hand, and just like, oh, this.
As you've knocked it, as you go to pick it up, changing hands, she takes the bottle back down and kind of tops it up as you're bringing it to your mouth, and puts it back.
A gem,
Yes.
nonetheless. And just.
Yeah. Winifred perches her. She's only 5'3", and she perches herself up on, and she just stares into nothing and just slowly just drinks the entire thing.
Where's Captain Valaire? That's odd. He's usually the first one in here when you roll in. Did you get your prize that you were looking for?
Nope. Sure didn't.
Oh, sweet. He was so sweet.
Am I?
He ain't here because we seen death, like you said.
You can see that Pearl looks very confused at the crying Winifred in front of her.
We are the last of the executioner.
And before she says anything, she pulls out a cup herself and pours herself a glass of whatever Toby made and just leaves it on the bar, the cork open. Takes a sip. What do you mean you're the last?
We were surprised in the night by something.
A ship. It was a ship.
I'd hardly
sorts.
say that's a surprise in these waters. What? You were sunk? By who? Tell me who, and I'll find out if they dock here in Nassau.
Ain't no who. Kindly. It's a
It was
what.
a what?
See, we went sailing where we ought not go sailing. And somebody either knocked on a door or opened it. And we ain't like what we found inside, and what we found inside ain't like us back. And so, as he said, we seen death.
Well, I can see Papa is his usual creepy self.
Yeah.
The execution is gone.
We didn't recognize whatever it was.
Sunk? How?
Yeah.
Sunk or taken.
Like, yes.
Do you need a salvage crew? Did you have cargo aboard that you need?
There's nothing. There's just nothing.
And you see one of the younger tavern maids come past and go, who you don't recognize. Perhaps she's new. Was this another lot? Telling their strange stories. Isn't that better suited to the folks down there? And she points to a table. There's a crew of pirates that you recognize there that are no one big, but they're known for some of their wilder tales, krakens and mermaids, and you name it, they swear they've seen it. And she's clearly only caught bits of your conversation, perhaps Papa's comments about seeing death and opening doors. And she kind of laughs, thinking that this is a much more jovial conversation than it is. And you watch as Pearl she shoots her a look. She's got that look, which is like, this ain't your business, leave. And she like stops for a second and just picks up a cloth and disappears off into the tavern. Well, what are you going to do about it? You can't just sit here and drink. Your money will run out eventually.
Not wrong. Just, taking it all in.
Have to know what happened to him.
I suppose a salvage crew is the way to go about it.
What's there to salvage?
We don't know, do we?
It had to go somewhere.
I think Venora takes out a small knife and kind of starts trying to figure out about where they were as far as she can like recall from memory, just like marking down any particular spots they passed, the last place she remembered, and it's like carving it out on the bar.
You could probably, if you looked at a map, you could probably figure it out.
Yeah.
You were about 4 or 5 days outside of Nassau in large open water. Where exactly in that kind of, you have a general idea of the area you were in, but it's pretty deep ocean out there. Obviously, Pearl has no idea where it is that you were attacked, so. And you watch as Pearl is just watching you put the dagger into her bar. Miss Vane, that is going to cost you.
Whatever you want, darling.
And imagine you put a couple of coins in her hand.
Yeah.
She regards them. Let you get away with it this time. And she lets me
get away with it every time.
She absolutely does.
We don't know what we're doing next. Yeah. Shadow ain't tell Papa where to go just yet.
Well, I'm just going to leave that there. And I have some business to see to in the back. And she leaves the bottle of whatever Toby's made and disappears out towards the back of the tavern. And you can see the sunlight begin to streak through as the door opens and then closes again.
You know that's the official name of the drink now, right?
What? Whatever Toby made?
Yeah, the name of the drink is whatever Toby made.
Whatever Toby
made.
I pour myself another cup's worth, drink about half of it, then hand the half full cup to the monkey, and go. I'm gonna go see Captain Williams and see if he can tell us anything.
Okay,
Kiki
and that's
promptly puts her whole head into the mug.
I imagine like the monkey takes it and just smashes her face into this thing and drinks it, squawks loudly, and probably throws the cup across the room.
I'll pay for that. That's fine.
Is there anything anyone else would like to do? So we have Bartholomew's going to go off and try and find Captain Williams.
I'm going to go to that table that's always spouting fantasy stories.
Okay.
I'm going with Papa.
Me too.
Okay. You head over to this table, and you don't know these pirates by name, but they are like a staple in here. They're the kind of dudes who go on about like all the stuff they've seen, but they never seem to leave the tavern. They are old sea dogs, though, and you can hear that they are currently playing a game of cards. And they're telling some story about, like what's the prettiest mermaid you ever saw, or something ridiculous like that, that's kind of just nonsense drivel. And as you walk over, all of them stop. And their cards go down on the table, and they sit back in their chairs, waiting. Fights happen in this tavern quite often. And you can see a few of them, their hands disappear under the tables.
Uh-huh.
And this older sea dog, he's bald, apart from some patches of white, scraggly hair that are left on his head, looks at you and just doesn't say anything. He just regards you in your direction.
What's the part?
What do you want? Can't you see we're playing cards?
Poorly.
I want to play cards.
You hear it? This one wants to play cards. And you can
What's
see
this?
there's like a chair is dragged from another table and you're offered a seat at the table.
I said,
Oh, what's this? What's this game? I don't know if I've played this game before.
One of them begins to excitedly tell you the rules. They sound very made up, like very made up. And as this younger pirate is excitedly telling you, the older one is just like, shut up. You're playing cards. What do you want?
We had some questions that some of your stories have gotten around.
More people calling us liars, I see.
No, just wanted to compare notes.
I think you're a liar.
Excuse me?
I said, I think you're a liar.
And you see he stands up at this, like typical quick to anger. He stands up and he grabs the side of the table and leans over at you, Papa. And you can see Venora and Bell. He's now got his back to you as he leans over into Papa's face. I won't be called no liar.
No need to get up. The worst thing you can do is kill me.
Sit back down. Sit back down.
And he
Get your ass down. We're not about that right now. All we're doing is trying to have a conversation. Just sit your ass back down.
I'd listen.
and you watch as the older sea dog. Actually, do you know what? Winifred, why don't you go ahead and make me a test? See if you can calm him down, because right now he's doing that like eyes going red. Somebody's questioned him. You've seen this happen before. There's a lot of pride involved with some of these men. So why don't you make me a savvy test?
I love
Ooh,
the label
savvy.
so much.
I think it's
It's
good.
an amazing touch.
Good. Okay. Savvy. So I roll. So I just type in roll.
Yep, and then you add your savvy modifier
Mhm.
if you've got
4
one.
plus 1. I do. Oh. That didn't do it.
Oh, you should
it's
just
the
be able to click
macro.
the macro. You want to hit the roll macro, and it should give you a little drop-down box to put in your modifier. Should be on the bottom left of your screen. You should say
And
roll and re-roll beneath where all our names are. Is it not showing?
It's not showing. I'm sorry.
If you click the little, I think it's the cog button. Let me double check. Sorry. If you
cog
click
button,
the
yeah.
collection, sorry, the one to the left of the cog button, there's like 3 lines with dots.
Yeah.
You should see at the very top
Oh, there we go.
macros. There you go. If you
There we
turn
go.
those on,
Roll.
they should appear in the bottom left corner.
There we go. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Woot woot.
There.
17. Yeah, easily.
Ooh.
He is glaring, and it's when I imagine like you get the ladle and it just comes into the side of his vision. And he kind of angrily, as if to make a point, because he can't, like, you've calmed him down and got him to sit down, he swipes his cards off the table in like a little mini temper tantrum.
That's more like it.
What
What's
is
the
it you want to
prompt?
know?
If you've seen anything like what we saw a few nights back,
What did you
she
see?
describes as much as she knows. I figure when she was looking, she could have also seen the figurehead. So
Yeah, you would have seen the
yeah,
figurehead.
so that's prominently what she describes. Is there was nothing else particularly of note, except that it was fast.
When you start talking about the ship, and it, emerging and the darkness and stuff. Yeah. And as soon as you start talking about the figurehead and some of the stranger elements, you see his enthusiasm drops. And he almost gives you, he looks at you like you've grown 2 heads. I've seen some shit in my day, but not like you're describing. No. What you're talking about, those are the tales. You want to go and speak to her ladyship about those, if that's the kind of thing that you're dreaming up. And him and the 2 men that you're with. And I imagine, Papa, that you're getting into like a little game as this younger pirate who is excitedly trying to explain the rules is now like whispering to you. And they're totally made up. They're like absolute bullshit. Yeah. And as the other 2 pirates get up, the younger one doesn't quite realize and like puts the cards down. It's almost like I should go as they storm out of the tavern.
Can I try and intimidate them
into staying?
Yeah, when they get up, he's going to get up and he's going to say, "Sit down. We didn't play our game."
Okay, make me a savvy test.
I have a whole +0 with that, so oof. A 13.
13. Not quite enough, I'm afraid. This was a medium level test. You would have needed 16. Okay. They are like, you get the sense though, Papa, because you have a sense for these things, that something about what Venora just described made them very, very uncomfortable. It's not that they're getting up because they're angry or annoyed or necessarily because they think that you're talking rubbish. It's just something about it makes them uncomfortable. Whether it's because it puts their own stories to shame or why they're uncomfortable, but there's just something about it that they just want to nope the fuck out of.
Yeah, Papa came here because he's like, he thinks that there's some truth in their BS and he thinks that they're hiding it. And so them leaving kind of reaffirms that.
And they leave very quickly.
You're right, Papa. They were liars.
Who's her ladyship? Well, that would have been useful to know before they walked out. Pearl!
You hear nothing first, but if you call a second time, Pearl emerges through the doorway. What do you want? I'm taking in a delivery.
Who would those fine fellows over there have called her ladyship?
She gives you that look. You know that look your friend gives you across the room where she's like, don't call her that. And you can see she like almost, she doesn't shout it at you, but she kind of like speaks it just on the edge of your hearing, but you can read the lips. And it's the very tight jaw of like, do not call her that.
Well, what else can I call her?
And she looks, and in that corner of the tavern, that crew that you had seen playing cards kind of tucked away to themselves is where her eyes go. And sitting at the table, who, as if sensing the words that have been spoken, or maybe she did hear you, is a woman that you also recognize. Specifically, you recognize. And some of you might recognize her once Venora reveals her name. But you see Captain Eliza Hade, a woman in a long, dark leather coat with, even in this hot weather, a scarf pulled up across her nose under her eyes, covering the entirety of her face from the nose downwards across her neck. And the reason that you know Captain Eliza Hade is she rolls with Jennings.
I know.
She's not part of his crew, but she is part of his kind of sub bit of the Brethren Court. But we will come back to that in a minute as she catches your eye as she stares at you. Moving on to Bartholomew, as you make your way through the streets, if you could call them that, of Nassau. You are on your way to try and find Captain Williams. Starts out a bit difficult. You don't know this captain very well, and there are lots of people who call themselves Captain something or the other on this island. But eventually you are directed towards one of the warehouses where you can see the tall, very lithe form of this man talking to what you assume are some of his crew as papers are handed over and exchanged at a kind of makeshift desk.
Captain, a moment of your time, please.
And he kind of... There's a few people who turn around as soon as you say captain, and Williams realizes that you're looking at him. And,
I do the hook thing. Not you, not you, not you. Yeah, you.
And you watch as the others kind of turn back like, oh, all right then. And you can see Williams hands off some papers to some of his crew. You imagine one of them's his quartermaster, maybe. And he kind of pushes out of the queue. Yes?
I need some clarification because the last few days are a little hazy.
Right.
How long were we with you before we got here? How long were we asleep, knocked out, what have you?
4 days or so. I mean, you weren't knocked out. We dragged you aboard. You were half dead. Honestly, we didn't think you'd make the night, but I feel a bit bad about just leaving you out there just in case. And that monkey would not stop screaming.
Sorry about that.
You were in and out. You were mumbling all sorts of things about your ship, your captain, something about the darkness. Kept complaining you were having nightmares.
Nightmares?
I found you about 4 days out from here. You're lucky, really. Had we been coming the other way, we wouldn't have turned around for you, but...
You didn't find anything else there, just us?
Few of you floating, holding on to what looked like some loose cargo crates, splintered bits of wood. What happened to your ship, anyway? Not that it really matters as long as you pay me the gold for your transport back, but...
Speaking of, what is that debt that's owed?
I mean, how much would you charge a man for his life?
You're as bad as Hornigold. Right.
Come to me with an offer. We'll work something out.
Yeah, I'll get on that. But you said we were mumbling, and it was just the four of us. No other survivors. You didn't. God, this is gonna sound really bizarre. You didn't see any ships about with shark's jaws for a figurehead?
No. We passed a small merchant vessel a few days prior, but didn't seem worth our time. So we continued straight on here. But no, there was nobody else in the water that we saw. I thought perhaps maybe you'd been thrown overboard for something.
No, we were sunk by another ship.
You can see the look he's giving you is going one from wild curiosity to... Like he's questioning what you're saying, but he's not saying it.
Yeah, I bet he is. Right. I'll have the matter of the debt owed by myself and the other three ideally settled by this evening. How long are you in port?
2 days.
Very well. I'll see what I can muster up today to clear that debt with you.
Sounds good to me. And he kind of pauses because he realizes he doesn't even know your name.
Rains. Bartholomew Rains.
I will remember that name.
No doubt. And he just kind of, Bart just kind of turns and walks back off towards the tavern. He's continually looking over towards the Marianne kind of thing, I don't want to go back over there.
Do me a favor. Just make me a... Let me have a look and see what is going to be best for this. Just make me a seafaring test.
Ooh, I have a nice bonus to that. Ooh, but I didn't roll that well.
This is enough. This is a very easy test. As you're walking through, and I mean, you're paying attention, you're looking out. You know that somebody might want to speak to you, and that's when you spot them. 2 men from Hornigold's crew that you know very well. 2 of your gunners, even.
Great.
Larger pirates. And they're walking towards you. For a minute, you think they haven't spotted you. Perhaps they're just having a stroll, but then you realize that is not the case as they come up beside you. And they go as if to make a hook for your arms. Are you going to resist them, or are you just going to let it happen?
I was feeling like, afternoon, gentlemen.
And you say these words as they both kind of grab you and lead you round, almost on your heels. Between...
I really have something to take care of. No?
That's
okay.
nice. Is that taking care of going back to the captain?
No.
What are you doing, Broadsides? You were due back on the crew a month ago.
Surviving for 1, 2...
He knew you were in Nassau a few days back. He wants to know why you didn't go to see him. What do you think he's going to do when he finds out that you're here now?
You got me at a loss.
He runs this place, Broadsides. I don't need to remind you of that.
I'm aware of these things. I figured maybe, maybe earn a little extra running on the headsman, and it's not really going to happen now. So here we are. And when I got back in this morning, I thought, well, maybe I should go see him. And then I thought, maybe not. Because I don't have anything for him.
Other than a really anything for him.
And then other than a really scary
Didn't he have some deal with your captain?
So how do deals work when they're dead?
Do you know what? I don't think I want to hear any more of this.
No,
because if I have to be the one to... You can see them arguing. If I have to be the one to tell him, he's going to lose his shit again. We didn't see you.
Yeah.
You understand me?
Yeah, I didn't see you neither.
And I'm warning you, Hornigold's going to be looking. He's going to find out you're here.
I mean, if he finds out, that's fine. Just tell him...
I am not telling him shit, mate. This is your problem. You should have been back a month ago. I'm not dealing with it anymore. I've great respect for you, Broadsides, but even I'm not going to go up against Hornigold for this one, all right?
Yep, got it. Gotta go.
And you can hear them arguing in the background as you kind of like awkwardly skirt past them and make your way back to the tavern. In the tavern, though, the 3 of you are now looking in the direction of the table in the corner of this woman who is referred to as her ladyship. And obviously, Venora, you recognize Captain Eliza Haid. You've heard some stories. And
I walk up.
The young barmaid that had previously commented she walked past comes back as you make your way over there. And she kind of, like, she's really nosy. She kind of stops you halfway, like, at the table. You know her ladyship, then? Is it true what they say?
What do they say?
You must know the rumors. The reason that she covers her face, doesn't talk. And you know this of her reputation. And perhaps a few times you would have seen her when you were part of Jennings's crew. She always has her face covered. You've never heard her speak. Very few people have ever heard her speak. And in the last couple of years, no one has heard her speak. But yet she manages to command her crew and her ship. You've heard some rumors. You have heard that she covers her face due to some disfigurement that came from some boarding accidents. You've heard rumors that she controls her crew through strange forces, which is not far and out there. There are some female captains around here who have some very odd reputations because men cannot fathom how they are, as great as they are. You've heard rumors that the reason that she covers her face is because she has a scar around her neck from where she escaped the gallows after she was hung, which is why she can't speak. But that's not the one that this poor, naive barmaid whispers at you. You know, the rumor that Jennings, that she did something, and she doesn't say it, but she makes the motion of pulling at her throat.
You're saying she did that herself?
Rumor has it that she pissed off Jennings. I mean, I've never met the man, but I've heard the rumors. And
Well,
Is it
anyone
true?
who pisses off Jennings doesn't live to tell the tale.
What's the name of her ship?
Venora, you would know this. It is called the Lady Silence.
The Lady Silence.
Where is it docked?
In the harbor. She looks at you, Papa. No. Whatever that.
Go.
No.
Barmaid shuffles off awkwardly.
Venora's gonna continue her approach.
Yeah, this is nonsense. Let's go over there.
You start heading over, and nobody from the table looks up. They're playing a game of cards. I can't think of what a historically appropriate card game is, but let's say it's the pirate equivalent of poker.
Sure.
You can see that there are coins, various denominations, reals, doubloons, all kind of piled up in clusters around the table as they're playing cards. And you can see Elizabeth Haid is sat in the corner, thick leather coat, even in the heat, the face covering up. And you can just make out underneath her hat, she wears a tricorn hat, not too dissimilar from you. You can just make out her piercing blue eyes.
Captain Head.
For a minute, it's like she doesn't even acknowledge you. She just looks at her cards, plays one of them down, and looks up. Doesn't even tilt her head, just looks up at you from under the brim of her hat.
Mm-hmm. Would you mind if we joined you?
And she looks at you as if she's listening to you speak. And then she looks over at another man beside her. An older man, starting to get a little bit round in the belly, but still with a full head of dark brown hair. And he looks at her. Yeah, of course. And he kind of gets up, moves the chair around, and brings some chairs for the three of you to sit at various bits of the table. And she just goes back to looking at her cards and kind of looks up at you between looking at her cards and playing a hand, because they're still kind of mid-round at whatever they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And as he's getting these chairs, he turns to all of you. They call me Coin Purse, but my name's Richard Saxby. And he reaches out a hand. He's quite jovial as he goes to shake your hand.
Yeah.
Please, sit. We'll finish this round and we'll deal you in.
I refuse to shake his hands and my eyes don't leave the captain. Is there anything I might be able to roll to see if there's some magic buggery going on about?
So your magic is based on harness, right? Right, you thinking that?
Yeah.
Your spells harness spells.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh wait, hold on. You can die without having to spend a courage point when casting any abjure spell, but harness spells you attempt suffer a -3 modifier.
Okay, so you're using Abjoy. In which case then, make me... What's your savvy?
0.
0. Okay, just make me a straight up Abjure test then. As you try to discern if there's something a little bit other about this woman.
16.
16. Something? You're not quite sure what. You haven't spent enough time with her. But there's a look in her eyes as she regards you, especially as she looks at you, because the face paint and the, you know. She looks at you in a way that says she vaguely understands what's going on with you. And you'd probably guess, as you would know, if she rolls with Jennings, she's probably involved in something or seen something. Jennings has a reputation. He has a very close-knit group called, you make sure I get this right, because I will say it wrong. It is the Acolytes of the Twisting Way. And they have a reputation for delving into magic and other strange things.
Papa's gonna nod, stand up, and put a bell on the table, and immediately leave to head towards the Lady Silence.
She tilts her head at the bell on the table and pauses to look at you. She looks to another man, not the man who introduced himself as Coin Purse, but somebody else to her side, another older gentleman dressed in this kind of red and white, dirty, striped, get-up. Bell for the dead.
Make sure they know. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And he nods, and then he looks back at Eliza, who is also nodding. And you leave and go to make your way to the Silence. On your way out, as you come out and you turn the corner towards the harbour and try to head back that way, you come across Bartholomew. Coming back towards the tavern as you cross paths.
Hi.
Papa's gonna get like real close, like uncomfortably close, and just kind of almost whisper in your ear, "I'm glad you didn't scream," and then just continue heading towards the boat.
That man ain't right. That man ain't right. He ain't right. That man is not right. Where is it? And he like looking at the fact that Daddy's headed back towards the shoreline, but I thought it was like, God damn it. And I try to catch up with him. Where's everybody? Where's everybody else?
You don't see them unless you want to head into the tavern first. They don't appear to be following Papa.
Yeah, no. That's why I'm asking Papa. I'm like, where is everybody else? Where'd everybody go?
He's gonna stop, and he's gonna say, They talking with somebody, ain't speaking back.
Who they talking to?
Someone ain't speaking back.
Someone who ain't speaking back. Okay. Like
he's continuing to walk as he says it.
like Bartholomew's doing the whole like trying to like keep pace with him, but like stop him every time that he's talking. Like who? Okay, not talking. Okay, man, woman, tall, short. What are we going with here?
Only a fool makes those kind of assumptions. All I know is they ain't talking back.
Everybody on the ship, and I saved him.
Are you continuing on with Papa? Or are you heading back to the tavern?
I am heading back to the tavern. And the moment I crest the doorway to see where the other two are at, speaking with her ladyship, I immediately go, fuck no, I'll take my chances with Hornigold, and immediately leave.
Yeah. You probably definitely know who this is. You know that mostly through Hornigold's crew. Hornigold is also one of the pirate lords of the Brethren Court. And you can recognize a member of Jennings' crew when you see them because they always look like creepy motherfuckers. And you know the people that do know of her have heard the nickname Her Ladyship, as well as a few other cruel ones that you know she does not take kindly to. You don't really know much about her aside from that. You've heard that she doesn't speak, and people are very unnerved by that. But you see the rest of your crew sat playing cards with her and her crew. And I guess you make your way to the fort.
Yep, I just kind of go, nope, ladies' night, got it, moving on. Nope, I'm not going anywhere near that creepiness.
It's a long walk up to the fort between the weaving streets, people stopping you to say hello that know you, some people asking if the headsman is in port because they have business, and when you explain it's not, they appear very confused. But you make your way up there, and there are some men standing guard at the fort, not particularly to attention. These are pirates after all. But you pass through a couple that you don't recognize who kind of regard you but don't say anything. And then you get to one by the kind of the main entrance. And he looks at you, goes, "Ha ha, well, I'll be damned, broadside Bart. So you're not dead.
No, is the captain in?
Or else do you think he's going to be? The ship's being keel-hauled, or did you miss that on your way in too? You know,
I didn't miss
just like your
it.
date for returning.
Why does everybody care whether or not I come back? What?
Because we're the ones that have had to listen to him ranting and raving that Valaire's gone off and nicked his best gunner.
No, he hasn't.
You know what he's like when he's in a mood, when he's had a bit to drink, don't you?
Yes, I do. Has he been drinking today?
His ship's being keel-hauled and he's got nothing to do except sit around and listen to the complaints of the people of Nassau. What do you think?
He could have taken up chess. I don't know.
I think the last time that the captain played chess, a man tried to call him a cheater and he ran him through with his cutlass. So I can offer him a chessboard again if you want to play.
No, I don't. I just gotta see a man about a horse. All right. Yeah, nah, sure. We'll go with that. Mm-hmm.
And he lets out this big booming laugh. You know this man. Why don't you tell me his name and why it is you two are somewhat close within the crew? Because he's fucking with you. He's clearly playing with you.
Yes,
and he clasps his hand on your shoulder.
He is. We'll say he is a bosun. He's one of the bosuns for Hornigold. We'll call him James. I don't know anything past that. I just know that his name's James.
Okay. Maybe it's just that like you've been on the crew for so long together.
He perpetually gives me a hard time. Just anytime I ask him for anything, he just says no.
But he always gets it to you.
Yeah.
He makes you work for it a bit. You know?
Eventually, yeah. If you work for it hard enough, yeah.
And he claps you really hard on the side of the shoulder. Says, well, if you need any help, don't shout because I'm not going to come running. But I will drag you out of there into the tavern if Hornigold loses his temper with you. All right. And he gives you that big smile like, oh, I can't wait to see what I hear through these doors.
Great.
And you make your way in through one of the little, it's like one of like the fortifications that's enclosed and out the other side towards the bit of the parapets where you know Hornigold is probably lounging in his chair, where he can see his ship out in the distance. And as you walk there, you can see the figure of this man before you.
Captain? Oh, you're busy. It's okay. I'll come back later. And I immediately turn to start
Sit.
walking away.
It's just a word. Before you can even really see his face, it's just sit. And there's something about the way Hornigold commands that just warrants obedience.
I sit.
You sit. And Benjamin Hornigold looks up from the book that he's reading and meets your eyes for the first time in well over a month.
Hi. How you doing?
But back in the tavern, you sit down. You're finally dealt in a hand of cards. The rules are explained to you. I assume you've put some money on the table, as would be expected.
Yeah, I think a bit. And Venora says, as she puts down whatever meager sum she has on her. And, well, I don't have much left considering we were sunk, but I can tell you a hell of a story.
And you watch as Eliza looks up from her cards at the word sunk. She adjusts herself in her seat and sits back, places her cards face down on the table, and just crosses her hands over her stomach. And then looks to Coin Purse for a moment. And he looks at her in the same way that you would watch somebody in conversation. And there's silence for a moment. She goes back to looking at you. And Coin Purse turns to you and says, "What do you mean your ship was sunk?"
I mean, we were on the water and then it wasn't there anymore.
I mean, that's what happens when you're sunk.
It wasn't the water, though, that drank it up.
And he looks back towards Eliza. "You hearing this, Captain? It wasn't the water that sunk them." And for a minute, you think he's making fun of you until she turns her gaze to you from him and looks down as if she's thinking about something. And looks back at him out of the corner of her eye. And he turns back to you. "What sunk you?"
Darkness. There was a ship. Another one came upon us out of nowhere. But then it wasn't a ship. It drank the stars and then swallowed the executioner whole.
You watch as Eliza's brows furrow while she listens to your story, those piercing blue eyes as if they're staring straight through you. She still says nothing. She leans forward on the table and clasps her hands. Then she looks at you, Winifred. The questioning look, like she's waiting to hear what you have to say.
Winifred has been kind of like digging into her pot and digging real deep, and she's been muttering about switching her chair 4 times already, and now she's gonna just sit here for just a moment, damn it. And she pulls out a black pearl and puts it in front of Captain Haid. Dark as that pearl. Came right out of nowhere, just right out of the ocean.
And she looks down at the pearl that you've placed in front of her and back up to you. And without breaking your gaze, picks it up, rolls it over in her fingers, and looks down. And you can see, as you're close around this table, the way the light bounces off the surface. She places it back down.
Swallowed them all up. Captain. Lost the captain.
And you see the other man beside her pipe up. Just gone. Like that. Just. And he kind of makes a hand gesture.
Winifred makes the same hand gesture back.
Captain, do you think, and as he goes to speak, she just like, her head snaps to look at him. And she gives him those eyes, the same eyes that give a warning. And his voice dies in his throat. Sorry, Captain. And you see some of the other men at this point are like, who are just like average, Bob on the crew, just kind of shrinking away into their cards as the conversation very clearly drifts between just you folk. She looks back and over at Coin Purse. He goes, I'm sorry, don't mind Jugs over there. He's had a few to drink. And, well, being the quartermaster, I really should be the one cutting him off, but he will keep spending money anyway, so I don't see the point.
Have you
Useless.
seen something like what we described?
Why'd you come to us? Coin Purse asks. And Captain Hay just sits there, staring curiously.
A tip, I suppose, from others who frequent the waters. But I figured if anyone would take us seriously, it would be one who has sailed with Jennings.
I'm going to have him make a test here to see if he recognizes you. Let's see. And it's as you say, as you mention Jennings, but you suddenly see his eyes narrow. We've met, haven't we? Briefly, maybe.
A while back.
You were part of Jennings's crew, that one.
Not anymore.
He let you get away with your life.
I didn't exactly ask him, but we're both on the same island, so I assume if he had a problem with it, I don't hide.
And he looks over at Captain Hade, and there's another awkward moment of silence where she just stares at him. And he looks back. Jennings hasn't been here for months. Set sail. Matters to attend to. We won't tell him you're here. So what is it you want us to do?
Is there anything in our little tale that you recognize?
Have you ever heard anything like that? Point us in another direction if we need to talk to someone else, but we got to get to the bottom of this.
And Captain Hade, who has been kind of playing with her fingers, flicking at her cards, clearly listening to what you're saying, but still hasn't spoken a word, looks up, looks between the both of you with a concerned look, and nods her head. And then she looks around. She gets up. And the rest of the crew stays, apart from Jugs and the man you know as Coin Purse, Richard Saxby, and says, she says, not here. And leads you out the back of the tavern.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Going over to Papa, you walk along the docks here at the harbour. It's not really a harbour, it is an open bay that ships can come into. There is no formal structure for how things work here in Nassau. And you don't know what the Lady Silence looks like, but between maybe asking some people, you can quite easily locate the ship. It is not too dissimilar in size from the Headsman. Certainly newer. Probably recently refitted, maybe in the last 12 months or so. You can see a few crew on deck. It's obviously not parked right in the harbour. You'd have to rowboat over to it. But you can see, sails being released and unfurled as you imagine there's some general maintenance happening from some of the crew who are left aboard.
Okay. Yeah, he's gonna grab a rowboat.
You find a rowboat that's been dragged up onto the beach and push it into the water. Sit yourself in it and begin to row. Just for the fun of it, go ahead and make me a seafaring test.
Ooh, I'm not terrible at that. All right. Never mind. I am terrible at that. I got
You're not
10.
the most coordinated rower. I imagine that is not your designated job when you come ashore. And you're a bit haphazard to bring yourself around, but you do make it over to the Lady Silence. You don't know if you've been spotted on your approach, but you make it to the ladder along the side of the ship.
Part of Papa's swag is he acts like he belongs wherever he is because he doesn't care. So he's just going to literally climb up as though he were crew. You
climb up and you land on the top deck. It looks like it's been recently scrubbed, probably in the time it's been docked here. You can hear a few people milling about. You don't spot anyone immediately, but you guess just from the general kind of ambient noise here, there's probably at least 5 to 10 people on the ship.
Okay. I'm gonna head towards the captain's quarters.
Easy enough. It's got a similar layout to the Headsman. You make your way to the captain's quarters. You try the door, but it is locked.
All right. Okay, so just a question on how magic works in this. Okay. I know that I have a set number of spells. Can I use my Abjure to try and do small things, or is it only the spells that you have? I just want to be sure.
I think rules is written, it's only the spells that you have.
Gotcha.
But I would say that if you wanted to, this isn't in the rules, but because rule of cool, if you wanted to try and do something spooky, I'd let you, but it's going to cost you some courage. Because obviously anything spell casting wise uses up courage in this game, which is basically your will to continue the actions that you're taking and continuing to face the kind of spooky, scary stuff.
In that case, he is going to whisper to the spirits, I'll pay a small price to get in that room.
Okay. Reduce your current courage. Lose 2 courage.
Gotcha.
And just go ahead and roll me a d6.
Ooh, that's spooky. I like
it. Or just hit roll on there and I'll 6. Okay.
I got a 6.
Okay. You stand in front of the door to the captain's cabin and try the handle and find it's locked. And what is it you say?
I said, I suppose once he gets to the door, he goes, all right, now how much is this gonna cost me? Take what you need. Just get the door open.
And for a second, as you say that, nothing happens. And then suddenly there is a feeling that you probably don't feel all too often. Fear. Just split second of it in your chest. That tight feeling like something is coming, and then it's gone. And then you hear the sound of keys, like a ring of keys dropping behind you. As this is a ship that's got a very open top deck. It's not like a fully decked top deck. Think like the Walrus from Black Sails. It's got that very open like center. You hear from in there a bunch of keys is dropped, and as you turn over your shoulder, you can see that there is a man rolling a large barrel down from one end of the ship to the other, and he looks behind, but the barrel's already built up to momentum and he can't go back for them without letting this thing go loose. So he is just forced to keep rolling this barrel. He looks like he might be somebody fairly important on the ship just by how he's dressed and the fact he has this ring of keys. But they're there.
I'm gonna take the ring of keys, and he's gonna take a deep breath and acknowledge what happened. He's just you gonna collect when it's time, I know. Just goes and tests the keys out to try and open it.
You don't know how you knew, but when you picked up that ring of keys, just one stood out to you. And you put it in the door and turn the lock, and it opens almost as if you'd expected it to. And the door to the captain's cabin swings open. It is, the ceiling of the room is quite short, as it is in most ships, but the captain's cabin on this is quite large in terms of its floor space. And you can see that the large grand windows towards the back that are letting the floods, the beautiful Nassau daylight in, you can see bookcases line the walls of this cabin. There's a large ornate wooden desk in the center of it, which is topped with some kind of felt that's starting to peel away at the edges, showing its age, and books everywhere, papers and journals, open maps and measuring instruments all over the place. Nothing jumps out immediately as being odd, but there is a lot of this stuff.
He's going to put the ring of keys on the ornate table and find a chair in the room.
There is a nice big chair behind the desk that looks very comfortable. Again, it's beautiful, but it's old and it's tattered. It's a high-backed chair. It's hard to tell what color the velvet on it might have been at one point, whether it was a green that has darkened to a black or if it was a red. It's seen some wear.
Is there anything in the room that would point to an obvious need that the captain has? Like any kind of medicine
there's a few that you would
or
know
anything
of.
like that?
On a lower dresser that's not a bookcase, you can see a series of captain's logs, which is you would know a captain would keep. You've been in your own captain's quarters more times than you can count with strange potions and ailments. There is some charts which are currently rolled up on the desk, which you would imagine, they're probably fairly, if they're on the desk, they have probably been used recently. But otherwise, you would have to make me I'm going to call this savvy.
Oh
no, studies as well. If you're looking for, if you're looking for something that you think would fit kind of whatever vibe you got from her as important, I'll let you make a studies test.
All right, because right now he's trying to see how he can be of service to her in return for her, one, not killing him for being in here, and two, helping him.
15.
So 15.
Nothing
Those
jumps.
dice are so cool.
Nothing. Thank you. I designed them.
I'm
very proud of them. Everyone needs a bit of Cthulhu skull, you know? Nothing jumps out immediately at you. There are some books on the shelf that look like they have been pulled out further, so they've probably been put back and replaced. And when you go and look at them, they are odds and ends of tomes. Some of them are just literature and good reading. It looks like the captain is very well read. There's a couple that strike you as strange, which perhaps is where you were getting those kind of she's messed with something vibes of what looks like handwritten journals. And if you flick through them, you don't get anything at first glance, but they remind you very much of grimoires.
All right, then he's just going to be doing some reading of the captain's logs, the journals, and the grimoires to get in her headspace.
Yep, you can see the logs. Everything is neatly detailed out. They've been traveling between a few ports around here before resting in Nassau, you can see where they took on some prizes. Looks like they had a fairly successful month of kind of pillaging and pirating. But nothing strikes you out of the ordinary. There are some gaps.
And nothing like related to what we experienced.
Not immediately that you notice, but you notice that there are definitely gaps. Like a log would be filled out like every hour on a ship or any significant, event that happens. There are across the month, every few days, there are a couple of hours just nothing's written in for.
Is it consistent like every day between 4 and 7 is gone, or is it jump around?
It looks like it for the first week or so, but then it begins to get scattered and the pattern is gone.
Okay. Yeah, in that case, he's just going to continue reading. Once he's done reading, he's going to put everything back the way he found it and just sit in the chair until the captain comes back.
Okay. What you can gather from generally having a look around on the role you made is that she is, like you would know if you know of Jennings, she's definitely involved in some kind of occult practice, even tangentially by her connection to Jennings and the fact she's part of the acolytes of the Twisting Way. It's just you just can't pin down what she's exactly involved in, but it's everything points to her being a little bit like yourself and in touch with or aware of something other.
So what I'm getting from the acolytes of the Twisted Way is a bunch of people playing with stuff they don't understand.
You know that they perhaps believe that some of this stuff can be a threat, and the best way to counter a threat is to have equal power.
That is a very pirate way of thinking of this. Makes sense.
You sit back in Captain Hade's very comfortable chair.
Much nicer than Valier's, yeah.
Kurt, we head over to see what Bartholomew is doing, as you have been told to sit opposite Hornigold as he's relaxing on his battlements. He looks up from his book. He closes it and puts it down on the small table in front of him. And then he casts his eye over the top of the battlements to where you can see the Marianne being keel-hauled and retard. It seems like it was only yesterday we were just doing that. Not that you would remember.
Hey, I mean, maybe not have been yesterday, but I remember the activity vividly, just maybe not on the Marianne. Which is probably what you kind of wondering what I've been up to. Listen, okay, so
I'm wondering why I haven't heard any reports of the headsman bringing in the stock that was dealt with. Not that you know the details, but where are the merchant goods?
Yeah.
I gave Valea that tip-off. What? Did you lose it?
No.
Did you sink it?
No.
I'm a fair man, Bartholomew.
Yeah, no. How do I put this? So we set out to go find the prize, and there it was. You said, hey, why don't you go ahead and just take old Bart with you and he'll train your crews? And I went, sweet. It was nice to be on a different ship for a little while. But yeah, then out of the suddenly, something came up out of the water and sank the headsman, or ate it. I'm not quite sure which one the answer is actually at this point.
He puts his hand up as if to stop you. I'm sorry, something ate the headsman.
I mean, at this point, I'm not ruling anything out. I basically go through and I recount the activities of the night. And then when it gets to that point, and I'm sitting there mid-watch, looking out, and this ship comes out of the water. And I don't mean it came upon us. I mean it came out of the water.
And he's listening, like he is genuinely trying to take in what you're saying. And in this moment, as you talk, he leans forward right into your face uncomfortably and just...
I'm not, no.
You're not drunk?
I'm not drunk. I had a little bit of whatever Toby was making, but that's about it. Anyway, I felt I deserved that one. But the figurehead of the ship, and if anybody's going to know what this is, it'll be you. Shark Jaws. The figurehead of the ship was Shark Jaws. With, the only thing I could, octopus ink living within the Shark Jaws. It opened fire on us. We returned fire as quickly as we could. Papa Soul, he said some hooky voodoo shit, and I didn't know what was going on before we knew.
Isn't he always saying that kind of shit, though?
Yeah, but he knew something was up before anything even happened.
Look me in the eyes, Bartholomew.
Uh-huh.
This isn't some stunt pulled by Valaire because you lost my prize.
No, it's not. No, I really wish it was just as simple as we sunk it, or that Valaire got a little too bloodthirsty or something like that. I really wish it was that simple. I truly, truly do wish it was that simple, Captain. But it's not.
Stand up a minute. Have a look at this. He calls you over, and you can see between the battlements the island of Nassau before you. All of this is mine.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Ours. And he's he's kind of got this thing about the crew, and because you are part of essentially the powder crew. You are personally loyal to Benjamin Hornigold, or at least collectively the crew is. It would be a shame if anyone were to lose privilege to such a place.
You're right. It would. 100%. And I don't question that privilege that I have. I don't. But
now, if you'd be lying to me,
why would I lie to
Bartholomew,
you? Why would I lie?
my boy. There is a lot more than the privilege of the beauty of Nassau that you will lose. But I have never known you to be a liar. Before I tackle your ship that came out of the water, why has it taken you so long to come and see me?
Well, because I was empty-handed. And on top of that, I have to pay off Captain Williams because his crew was the ones that pulled me and what was left of the headsman's crew out of the water. And
so you returned to me empty-handed, and owing a debt.
Yeah, I know. It's not sundown yet. I've got time to try and work something out. Maybe, possibly.
Well, what are you doing about this missing ship that's sunk?
Well, we don't know that it's sunk. I don't know that it's sunk. I'm assuming it's sunk. That's the best I can tell you right now, is I'm assuming it's sunk. Papa said some, hooty-dooty stuff that I'm not 100% on board with, and to think out of all the crew members, yeah, he just said, don't scream. That's all I remember. Don't scream.
What do you need to pay off the debt?
I don't know. He said, come to him with a, come to him with an offer. I figured, what, 100 gold pieces a head, probably. I don't know. But that's not the part that's got me seriously worried.
As you're talking, he kind of gives a thing, and you see him ruffling around in what looks like the messiest box of papers you've ever seen, like beside the table. He's got his own little setup here going, he's comfy. And he rifles around and he finds a sealed envelope. Give that to Captain Williams. Tell him that I am paying your debt.
Fuck. Okay. I'm not going to question that. Thank you. However, this is what will probably be more interesting to you. I don't know what was said, and I don't know what is going on, but Vane and Wendy, they talk to Haid and seems to have her interest. So that's what's going on.
Now that is interesting. Keep me updated on what you mean to do. The ship is being keel-hauled, so I won't need you on deck for some time. I have business to attend to here. Do not leave this island without my permission. Go and find out what they're talking about and tell me.
I'm not very good at the spy stuff. You know I'm not very good at the sneaky spy stuff. That's what you have James for. James does the sneaky spy stuff.
James,
I man the guns.
You, by all
Got it.
accounts, owe me a month worth of work. And the debt that I'm paying off.
Fair.
You don't have to
Fair.
spy, just be present.
Okay, fine. Very well. Then I shall do that. I shall do that. And
Mark my words, boy, you leave this island without telling me again.
I'm not going to leave the... I don't even have a boat to get on. The only other boat I could get on is sitting on a beach. I'm not going anywhere. I mean... Yeah, okay. I will... Why? I really don't want to deal with the creepy lady. I don't want to deal with... Okay, fine. Got it. Yep. Mm-hmm. Going.
Captain Eliza Haid is well respected among Jennings Court.
She doesn't talk.
No, she doesn't, but I remember when she did. Let me tell you, she is sharp as any man's cutlass around here. You will treat her with the respect that she deserves. Now go.
Mm-hmm. All right. And Bart just kind of gets up, like pulls the scarf off his head, like actually wipes his face, and then like ties it back on his head. Is like, no, this is not going how it's supposed to. I'm just a gunner. I just man the cannons.
Just as you're leaving, you can hear in the background Benjamin Hornigold laugh to himself a little bit.
Oh, I'll bet he is.
And you make your way down the fort, and as you're coming down, making your way, I assume, back towards the tavern, you spot Venora and you spot Winifred trailing behind Captain Haid and the two men that you saw in the tavern.
Ladies, hi, how's it going? What's happening and stuff?
And Haid looks at the two of you, Venora and Winifred, behind her with a questioning look, and then looks at him and kind of nods her head in his direction, as if asking, who's this?
Another survivor.
Captain Haid, you're...
Belle, I think you're muted. Oh, Belle, can you hear
Belle,
us?
you were muted somewhere.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
There
okay.
we go.
And you see Jugs, the other man, with her, look and go, "You all right to come, Captain?" And she kind of gives you a look. She looks you up and down. She looks at the pathway you've come from
Mm-hmm.
and nods. And then just continues walking like we've got somewhere to be. As you trail behind. And you'll see the other man to her other side who flanks her, turns round and kind of like awkwardly is like, "You can call me Coin Purse, Richard Saxby, Courtmaster of the Lady Silence." And he's quite jovial, like he's very happy and upbeat. And it's like stretching to shake your hand. And Jugs kind of turns around, and Jugs gives you kind of a nod and a bit of a like weak smile, and then turns back. And you can see he's talking to the captain, and so is Saxby. She doesn't reply. She just turns her head as if she's listening while they talk. And then there's silence between them
Broadside Bart, Master Gunner of the Marianne. Hi, nice to meet you.
Oh, you're one of Hornigold's men.
For
Saxby
now.
turns around.
For now. Vane, what did you tell them?
Everything.
Shit. Hi.
We said that we're coming along, so she actually said something to us.
Wait, she spoke?
She said, "Come along."
Color just kind of drains from Bart's face for a moment.
She didn't. Just to clarify, she didn't speak.
Oh, okay.
But she gave a look to, I think it was Jugs, and he said, "Not here," and that's when they left. But you haven't heard her speak. It's really unnerving. Like, it's creepy watching these two men have a conversation with her where they talk and she says nothing, and they just continue. Like, that's entirely normal as she just stares. And you end up on the beach where there's a rowboat, and she gestures to it, and the men pile in. And you notice she sits in the center and takes the oars. It's not often you'd see a captain row her crew, but she starts rowing out, and you can see approaching a large ship about the same size as the headsman is, but what you now know to be the Lady Silence. And there is another rowboat alongside, which you notice the three of them regard oddly, but they don't say anything. And the first two people to go up are Jugs and Coin Purse, and then Captain Hade. And as she climbs onto the deck, you hear the call out of Captain on deck, and there's a few people that shout in response. She looks around, regards the sails, nods, looks at Jugs. Yeah, of course, Captain. And he leaves. Starts shouting orders at some of the men. And she gestures towards her captain's cabin.
Before we go any further, Captain Hade, I just want to put it out there that he didn't mean any harm.
She gives you a questioning look.
I didn't do anything.
Not talking about you, Bart.
What?
And she takes a step back to follow Hade.
Yeah.
Hade reaches into the inside of her jacket and pulls out a key. It's on a ring. You can see there's a few. And she goes to put it in the lock, and as she does and begins to turn the handle as the key, the door opens, and she almost falls forward for a second. Takes the key out. Doesn't let go of the door to allow it to swing free, but puts the keys back in her pocket. And you just hear the slight shink as a sword is just pulled slightly free of its scabbard across her waist. And you can see the end of this scabbard poking out between the slits in her jacket as she throws the door open with reflexes that could rival yours, Venora. And it slams with a loud bang against something behind it. And all of you, as she draws her sword outwards, which flashes through the air, you can hear the slight ring as it cuts through, and she has it ahead of her. You can see what she's looking at. There is Papa, sitting behind a beautiful, ornate wooden desk with these peeling bits of felt in this large, high-backed chair. What are you doing, Papa, when the door flies open and you can see Captain Hade, cutlass drawn, another man who you saw in the tavern, who I think you probably heard was her quartermaster, also, waiting with a short knife, and then your crew.
He had already put everything back beforehand, but as soon as he heard Captain on deck, he would have got out of the chair and just kind of stood in front of the desk. And as the door swings open, he's just gonna go, Figured this would be the better place to talk. Huh?
And you can see she has a look of she's not happy. Like she's like, she breathes hard through her nose, and you can see the way her chest fills and expands. She turns around to look at all of you with a sour expression.
He's just gonna say in response to that, you could get mad and kill me, I'd understand. Or we could continue our conversation and make something fruitful. Whichever you choose, I fully support your decision.
You don't see her. You don't see her expression, Papa, as she says this, because she's looking back at you with a sour look. And you watch the sour look, you realize that she's listening, and it drops to 1. And if she could speak, you imagine that she might say, "Well, fine then." It's that kind of look. And before even turning back, she puts her cutlass away. Her eyes give you a kind of warning glare. And you hear the short knife that Coin Purse had tucked away into a scabbard. She gestures for you to enter the cabin. Once you're inside, she shuts the door and she sheds the heavy coat that she has and throws it over a small chair tucked behind the door that's now slightly lopsided from how hard she slammed the door open onto it. And beneath, she wears, a off-white kind of shirt, a waistcoat. You can see a pistol at her far hip and the cutlass. And she walks around her desk, and she has a presence about her. Venora, you've been in the presence of Jennings. Bartholomew, you've been in Hornigold's presence. Very commanding men. Winifred, you've probably been in the presence of Hornigold at some point, just from how long you've been on the seas. You recognize this kind of presence. This is the presence of somebody who understands exactly who they are. And she goes and she sits at her desk, and she immediately opens a drawer. She pulls out a chart and rolls it open. And you see as Saxby grabs some metal brass weights and uses them to pin the corners down. And you can see on the map, there's a bunch of lines that have been drawn in pencil and markings and scribblings. She taps the map and brushes her hand over it. She looks at Saxby, who looks as if he's listening to nothing. She wants to know where was it lost?
Yeah, Viper. You were doing a doodle?
Yeah, she comes over and goes back in her mind the last time she had checked in, and then estimates how far they would have traveled since then and can give, I think, a rough estimate.
Make me a seafaring test.
Okay. Can I assist?
Let me have a look and see if there are rules for assistance. One moment. I just accidentally closed the quick start that I had open.
I saw those somewhere.
See. I don't know if they are in the quick start, but I'm gonna say yes. What is your skill? How are you assisting? Tell me first, and we'll figure out what kind of bonus you get to give to Lauren.
I am remarking on the wind, what direction the wind was going. As I would have had a natural connection with the wind. So perhaps I can help judge speed that we were going and direction.
Okay, so you're gonna use your knowledge as a wind caller to kind of like your natural kind of sense of things. In which case then, let's see. You use abjure spells. What's your abjure skill?
My abjure skill is +2.
Okay, in which case, have a +2 to this seafaring test.
Okay.
Lauren.
So that's a total.
I'm sure there are proper assist rules in here. I just can't
There
find it at
are.
this moment.
It's page 8, only an
Yeah,
11.
page 8. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. Well, it's a
Yeah.
+2 to the modifier of the check, so
Yeah.
that somehow worked out. Okay, 11.
Yeah.
This is easy enough because you had been studying the charts. It's not like this happened, when you were in uncharted waters or anything.
Mhm.
You can make a guess at the area, and as you're kind of using some instruments to figure it out, and you and Winifred are poring over this map, Captain Vane hands you a pencil to mark it out. And as you draw the X across the squares that you think are the rough area, she sits back. You see her tapping on several other X's, and they're all dated. The oldest date that you see is maybe from a year and a half ago, all out in deep water as you were, all no more than a week out from Nassau. She looks over at Coin Purse again, and there's another few moments of silence. It's really, really eerie before he says, "Your ship, it's not the first."
Why haven't we heard of this then?
Where did it go?
I don't know, but Captain Haid has been keeping an eye on some strange occurrences. There was another ship, and he points here, and he tries to read her handwriting for the name, but after like 3 attempts of like half speaking it, he gives up. That one vanished. Its flag was found washed up on the beach. We just assume it had sunk, taken on water, got caught in a storm.
No survivors?
Not that we could find. Didn't pay much attention to it first. But then there were these two, and he points to 2 other points that are fair, a few months apart in date. Ships stolen while on the water, but not by pirates. Nobody recognized the flag that they were carrying. Just kept babbling about a figurehead. Most people assumed it was some new crew out on the seas. Not everybody docks here at Nassau. Port Royal has its fair share. Tortuga, lots of little nooks and crannies around here.
Who's to say it ain't a new crew?
And Haid looks up at you, listening.
Y'all don't think we the only thing out there in the water, do you? Hmm?
She shakes her head at you slowly.
Now, question is, what woke it up? Who called it out? What does it want? Seems to be collecting.
And you see Saxby look at her. Are you going to tell them about your... And he stops short of saying whatever it is he's talking about. She looks at him, shakes her head, and he nods. Not time yet, I see. And she stands up.
Not time yet. Not we lost our captain. We lost the entire ship. What?
She goes over to a box of papers as you're talking, and she turns back as if to gesture that she's listening. And she's just looking for something now. You can see her piling through and pulling out bits of papers, and you can see that coin purse is just kind of standing there looking, and he's a bit awkward, kind of clasps his hands and gives you all a big beaming smile, as you can see he's trying to ease some tension in the room.
Bless your heart.
Not time yet. That's when Papa's gonna start laughing, like, and it's strange because Papa don't laugh.
What's so,
Laugh.
what's so funny?
Ain't time yet. You heard.
Papa, can you expand a little? Sometimes you need to. Sometimes you give us this, and what we need is this. Share your knowledge. Share your knowledge.
Ain't knowledge. It's just an understanding.
I wish to understand.
Time is where it's the same thing for all manners of creatures and all manners of things. Something's coming due. Ain't that right, Captain? That why it ain't time?
And Haid is still rifling through these papers very meticulously, and she looks over her shoulder at you. She narrows her eyes. Just shakes her head very gently and goes back to looking through these papers. When she can't find it in the top tray, she places them back and opens the drawer and starts going through. And you can see she's got a lot of papers in here. Venora, this is fairly normal for people that roll with Jennings. You know that some of these books might be grimoires, might be occult tomes. Generally, a lot of his captains are very well read. They keep a lot of tabs on a lot of things. So this isn't strange to you. For some of the others, this might be very odd to be in this kind of cabin that is so, it's like being in a library almost. But you see Saxby kind of listening to Papa. You sound like a wise man.
No. I'm a dead man.
Aren't we all? Eventually.
No, I'm very much alive.
I ain't kicking no bucket yet.
C claims us all, one way or another.
Papa's gonna do that thing again with Bart, where he gets real close and he just whispers after he goes, I'm very much alive. Papa just gonna whisper, until. And then like lean away from him.
Listen, I've stared down 36 guns of a Spanish galleon. That don't scare me. You scare me.
So those stories are true then? Hornigold really did take that one?
Yeah. Why would he lie? What? Oh, I see. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm.
Friendly competition.
At this mention, Benora kind of has a thought and addressing either Coin Purse or Captain Haid. Did Hornigold know about this? And she gestures at the X's.
He looks over to Haid as if asking some unspoken permission, and she nods to him. No. Nobody knows about this. Jennings doesn't even know about this.
When do you think it's time people heard? Shouldn't we warn people about this?
Get everyone up in a frenzy. Haid bringing this to Jennings or Hornigold or any of the court, Blackbeard even. It would either start a panic. The last thing we need is more infighting. Well, no one would take it seriously at all, and then it would be too late. I'm sure some of you have seen it. Coming in too early with a tip about a prize. Ends up being fake. Ends up being something else or wrong entirely. This ain't no different. And mark me, there is a prize here, just perhaps not the one that we want.
So keeping it to yourself. And hiding is taking it seriously, is it now?
And you see Hay finally retrieve this piece of paper. She looks over. And there's silence again. The captain says she's telling you about it, isn't she?
I think we're telling her about it. I don't know if she's told us anything. Really.
She hasn't. Yeah, she hasn't told us anything other than she's aware that other ones have happened.
Yeah. Can I take a look at this? Is the map still out with all the X's, little spots on them?
It is.
Can I take a look at it to see if I can figure out any sort of pattern or anything like that?
Sure, go ahead. This is going to be a pretty difficult role.
Okay.
As in the book, this is going to be like hard. So this is like a 20. So this is going to be I'm going to call this a seafaring.
Seafaring. Okay. Well, it's 17.
Can I assist?
I can't read inches.
Not with this one, because I don't think there's anything that you would be able to see.
Gotcha.
Oh, friends, I think my camera is frozen.
Yep.
I'm going to keep going and hope it unfreezes. So we'll
It's
see.
a good spot for it to freeze, though.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I can see it. I'm pulling a face.
You're giving us that
You
look.
start this. There's something about where they are in the water, like the area. They're all quite close by. Far enough off of any coast to be in deep, deep water. But close enough to Nassau. And other kind of smaller islands around there. That it's like you're grasping and it's just at the edge, but you can't quite pick out what it is. And just as you try to study the map more, you see Captain Haid place this piece of paper down. Sam, I know you can hear me. Can we BRB for, I know we're coming towards the end, for 2 minutes, because I think I need to restart my Zoom because it's completely whited out on me now. So I have no idea if anything is working.
Yeah, we can still hear.
Hello, friends. Sorry about that. We're back after the Eldritch forces crashed my Zoom. But yeah, as you're trying to study this and trying to grasp at the edges of a pattern that you can barely see but can't quite get, this piece of paper interrupts your view. And you can see that it is a trial order, or a copy of one.
All right.
For a woman who remains unnamed, but is being tried for essentially crimes in Port Royal. It's called for her arrest, and it has a date for when she is due to be brought before the magistrate. The crime listing is very generalized. I can't think off the top of my head exactly what it would be called now. But it's kind of just like generally doing bad shit or things that the law do not agree with, because Port Royal apparently makes its own rules and somebody has decided they don't like what she's doing. But she places it down in front of you and taps on it.
What
Why?
is this? Yeah. What's this for?
She looks again at Coin Purse, and they have that weird silent conversation. There's a woman due to be put on trial before the magistrates at Port Royal.
Uh-huh.
She's known to some as being some kind of sea witch, having knowledge, power that others don't. The captain here is worried that if she goes to trial, she'll be sent to the gallows.
She will.
We can't dock in Port Royal. Not right now. But this woman, she might know more about whatever it was that happened to your ship.
Ugh.
Without saying, and he looks back at the captain, more than perhaps I should, I don't think your ship is sunk.
What do you think happened to the captain?
Whatever happened to the ship?
They were collected.
We've been trying to pull at threads for the best part of a year. But with nobody to talk to find out what happened. Apart from the few crews that said their ship was stolen by somebody taking it. Which isn't very much to go on, if I'm honest. Aside from that figurehead. We never knew what happened to the others that went missing. We're the first people that can tell us what happened out on the open water. Set sail for Port Royal. Go find this woman. Ask her questions. Bring her back here to Nassau.
You ask an awful lot of a very small group that has even less. So
Yeah, you got a boat, crew.
They can't go.
And you see Hay'd get up. She paces around for a moment like she's thinking. She looks over at Saxby, who's looking at her like expecting something. And there's again that awkward silence as she just stares. The dreamer. Yes. Okay, I'll take them to it. And Hayes stands there and he turns to you. There is a ship that the captain is willing to lend you called the Dreamer.
Ah.
It's a prize that we took a while back, but we've got no use for it being sailed at the moment, so it's been docked. at a island not far from here, with some of the crew who are recovering from the last prize we took. You can have captaincy of her for as long as you need. Don't lose her. As for a crew, you, what was your name again? Broadsides, something?
Bart. Call me Bart.
Bart, right. You're part of the powder crew. I'm sure Hornigold can lend you some men. Obviously, don't tell him about this. I don't know. Tell him you've acquired a new ship and something about a tip. What you know what will please the man. Anything merchant goods, trade goods, gold, treasure. He takes it all.
Okay.
You'll need to outfit the ship a little bit. It's not great on supplies, but I'm sure Nassau's a wonderful place for that. And he kind of smiles. He has this big, very genuine smile at you, and he smiles at the captain, who you can't tell if she's smiling under the scarf that covers the lower half of her face. But her eyes are bright and expectant.
Thank you. It's most generous.
Which of you be captain, then? I assume one of you will be captain.
One of us will.
Her hat has 3 corners. She's the captain.
First
Yeah.
to speak. So it is yours.
You're wearing the hat.
She raises an eyebrow at Papa and just holds his gaze as they are wont to do.
There be no disagreements, then.
Oh.
The Viper here will be your captain. In which case,
I have
good
one
luck in your captaincy
stipulation.
of the Dreamer.
There's one thing that I require before I continue with this.
What?
From you, Captain Haid.
She looks at you, waiting.
I want one word the way he hears it. And I point at her crewmate.
Her expression is blank. She says nothing. There's an awkward, tense silence as
What?
Saxby continues. And he puts his hand out to you, Venora. And he almost takes it. Like, if you don't offer it, he almost takes it and shakes you. Congratulations, Captain. And he hands you a piece of paper, which is essentially a deed as such, signed by Captain Haid, to allow you control of a vessel called the Dreamer. And then she very obviously is done. She gestures to the door and she turns back to what she's doing. And as you all begin to turn, only you hear this, Papa. Not you. It's a soft voice. English in its origin. Well spoken.
He stays
You don't
put.
hear it in your ears. You hear it somewhere else in the back of your mind. And none of the rest of you hear this. And you watch as your crew begin to exit, and Saxby is going on and on and on about the Dreamer and what it needs and where to get things and trying to be a helpful quartermaster. And as you turn back at Hayes, she is stood in front of her desk, kind of sitting on the edge of it. You see the other side too. She
Hang on,
nods.
Let's see it.
Have you ever seen something so terrible that it steals the voice from your throat?
every time I pull, every time I use it, I see the darkness, and I know it's coming.
It sleeps beneath us. And I have seen what happens when it begins to stir. And there is no scream loud enough to cut through the silence that it brings. And then she is silent again.
He's gonna walk up and put his hands on the desk and just kind of lean at her and go, "Can't hold your breath if you scream." Then he's gonna get ready to walk away.
She kind of like, she shakes her head, not dismissing you, but in acknowledgement of no, you can't hold your breath if you scream. And all of you wonder where Papa has got to, and as you're making your way down the ship, you see him leave the captain's quarters. You see the door close as you make your way down the ladder. And you sit in the boat as Richard Coinpurse Saxby rows you back to shore and arranges for you to be chartered over to the nearby island where the Dreamer is placed. And that first night you spend upon the ship, as you bring it into port to Nassau and begin to outfit it, all of you have strange, disturbed sleep. But when you wake, what it was that woke you up with a cold sweat that made your heart beat through your chest, you don't quite remember. But it is a new day in Nassau. You have a destination in mind and a jailbreak to spring. And that, my friends, is where we will leave the first episode tonight.
Hey! Captain Viper!
Captain Vine.
Captain Viper!
Perfect.
Folks, I hope all of you here with me playing have enjoyed it, and everyone in chat has enjoyed watching. It wasn't it was a very roleplay heavy session, but you know, we're setting up, and you haven't, there's not too much to get yourself into trouble with yet. But I'm sure that a jailbreak won't at all cause you any problems. No?
I see no way this could go wrong at all.
Yeah.
So folks in chat, thank you for joining us. Obviously, please thank these wonderful folks here for coming to play with me and hanging out with all of you lot for a good few hours to start telling this fantastic story. Before I do any plugging spiel, let's go around. Tell us how you're thinking, any insights that you've got so far, what you've enjoyed, and obviously where we can find you on the internet and what you're up to. So if I go the other way around this time, heading over to Belle, first of all, how was that for you? I love Winifred, by the way. I love that she is just
my gosh.
This is the mum of the group. It's great.
Yes, this is so much fun. I'm having an absolute blast with this. I hail from New England, so some of the Cthulhu-esque stories are based on close to home, so it's wonderful. And I am binging Black Sails for the third time, so I'm just getting really into this, and I'm having a great time. I can't wait to make Winifred a little saltier. That'll be great. And you can find me at Belle Share, at Twitter, on Twitch. On Twitch, I do some streaming. So if you're into cosplay or miniature painting, that's what my stream is about.
There you go. Go and check Belle out, and thank you for being part of the crew.
Thank you.
Going around then, that brings us to Lauren. How are you doing, friend?
Hi, I'm doing great. A lot of fun. I'm excited to stretch my legs a bit with combat when we get to it, because that's Viper's jam. But I really like her just like listening a lot, and like that's really fun for me to play somebody like that who takes it all in before giving her thoughts about it, because shit's strange, don't write anything off yet. But as for me, I am Lauren, and that's Salty Ginger over on Twitter, and half of Salty Sweet Games here on Twitch, where I've been running Masks of Nyarlathotep, a Pulp Cthulhu campaign, for over a year. We're coming back at the end of August with the Australia chapter and a new player, which is really exciting. Otherwise, you can check me over there with my best friend Kiana, who is doing some writing work for this game, which is exciting, the synergy. We stream video games and other tabletop things over there on Salty Sweet Games.
Awesome. Please go follow Lauren. Lauren does some amazing stuff. Kiana's pretty awesome too. They are one of the writers for Cursed Captains, so go over and show some love. Moving around then, I'm looking at the Twitch screen. It's very odd because it's completely different to what's on my Zoom. We have Noir.
Hey, that's me. Again, there's the paint, and then there's my actual voice. I hate it. Hi, everybody. I'm Noir. You can find me all over the place as the Noir Enigma. That's Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. That's the other one. I love playing this character. I just love getting to spout spooky stuff. And thank you for making the spooky stuff works, because I'm just saying stuff. And hoping you'll find a way to make it spooky. And you do. So thank you. You're amazing.
I know there was a little bit at the beginning because we'd obviously talked about what the incident that happened was. But after that, you just kept saying creepy things. I'm like, is Noir reading my notes? Like, did I put the wrong things on the Google Drive? But I love it. I love that Papa just says really creepy shit. And everyone else is just like, dude. Like the bells at the beginning. Just brilliant.
And plus, I just want to say, I love the chemistry that this group has already. This is so much fun playing with y'all. I can't wait to keep this up.
Oh, thank you for playing, Noir. It's great to have you, and I look forward to on Wednesday. We're in a game together of Cursed Captains where you are my captain, and I play a wind caller with a parrot that won't stop shouting at people. And last but definitely not least, we have Kurt playing possibly one of my, I don't know who's my favorite character. You all are for different reasons, but like I love his reaction to anything spooky.
Just is like, what is happening right now? What do we do? What happened to just stealing from the rich, giving to the poor, a pirate's life for me? No, now we've got monsters, and what's happening? I don't know. I'm actually having a total blast with this. I think this is great. Everybody here is great. Everything is awesome when you're part of a team. But you can find me. My Twitter is at Kurt Vanetis, my name there. You can find me on Twitch as Covenant the Horrible Alchemist. I stream video games for the most part. I do TTRPG stuff once in a while. I'm going to do another one here again soon. But mostly you'll find me on Thursdays with Susie kicking my ass at fighting games. That's pretty much what I do. But yeah, I'm excited for next week, and I'm really looking forward to what happens next.
So am I. I can't wait to see what kind of trouble you get yourselves into out on the seas, and we can break out the ship rules and the combat rules. So that'll be a ton of fun. Thank you, folks, for coming and playing. Some of you folks in chat will know me. Hi, I am V. I make tabletop games, and I stream on Twitch. You can obviously find me here on Mondays. On Tuesdays, I play Phasmo with a bunch of friends, including the wonderful Susanna Grace and Amelia Tyler. And also Tom, if you follow After the Fire. And also on Fridays, I play Sea of Thieves with the Black Cats crew. So if you want to see us be actual pirates, you should come and check that out. Otherwise, I do stuff in tabletop games. I'm not going to list it. We'll be here forever. But come and check that out. Tabletop Horde on Twitter and Twitch. And then a few things that you should know. If you're here, if you're enjoying the madness that is going on tonight, then please go and check out the Cursed Captains of Cthulhu Kickstarter. It is in its last week right now, and we need all of the push that we can get. I don't know how far funded into the stretch goals we are. We have funded. There are 4 days to go. We are at £18,000, a bit over, which means if I have a look, we are so close to getting Kiana's voyage booklet, like so close, like less than £100 away. So go and head over, check out the Kickstarter. There is some really awesome stuff that you can get. It's going to be great. There's also a free quick start that you can download that got updated today with a voyage. So if you'd like to grab a bunch of Parisian characters and a cool ship sheet, the Artemis, and play through and meet your own version of Captain Hornigold, who features in that adventure, you should go and check that out. Otherwise, if you've already done all of that, tell your friends about it. That's the biggest thing. That always massively helps. Sharing what you're enjoying. Tell them about the stream so they can come and join us next week when I put this lot into some real trouble.
Back it harder. If you back it now, I'll say a random spooky thing to you.
Yep, you know, Noir will just get spookier the more the Kickstarter goes up, you know.
Maximum spooky. All right.
And if you've done all of that, then head over to blackcatsgamingshop.com, check out the spy game, and you can find on DM's Guild Dreams, Nightmares, and Half Remembered Meetings. If you'd like some weird, cursed, gribbly stuff for your D&D games, it's all there. It's really cool. There's also a wand of napping. You know you want that in 5e. Who doesn't want a wand of napping? Right?
I want that in real life.
Otherwise, check out all of the usual social links, Twitter, Facebook. I don't know if Black Cats has an Instagram, but if it does, go and follow that too. And you can catch up with other episodes of previous streams, and I assume this one over on the YouTube channel as well. But I think that's where we're going to leave you for tonight, friends. I don't have control of the Twitch this end, so I don't know if we're raiding. I'm sure if we are, Sam will choose somebody to raid in the chat. But if not, that is us signing off for tonight, friends. We will see you back on the waves next Monday at the same time. Thanks, folks. Bye.